Stock of the day, bit around today. Of course, Collins Food gave an update today. Good result. Share price up 7% just before I came in on the back of it. But thought we'd take a look at PointsBet, the gambling giant, on track for revenue year 25. Is a strong performance over the Spring Racing Carnival, key trading period. Chief Executive Sam Swanell tells investors in a speech at Tuesday's AGM, group net win for the quarter from October 1 to November 25, it was $48.2 million, up 26% for all those people who are gamblers. This is the real winner in terms of gambling is the bookie. The Australian trading arm contributed $42.2 million, a 20% increase, while Canada's $6 million contribution was a 107% rise on the corresponding period. The chief executive also calls the sale of its US branch to Fanatics another exciting venture. Now, we had a whole bunch of these stocks list on the market at a similar time, about 2 or 3 years ago, didn't we, Francesco? All saying they're floating to take advantage of deregulation of the American gaming market. Investors in those floats haven't fared so well.
No.
Is this trading update an indication of a turnaround at PointsBet?
Yeah. Look, I find it a bit confusing because this company, I remember they listed back in 2019. If I remember correctly, part of the capital raising was about raising capital for marketing into the US.
Yeah, and they did a deal with NBC too, didn't they?
Yes, and that was the core growth.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they're selling it. Now, I'm not sure whether they sold it, and I wasn't looking at it at the time, whether they sold it because they just had to get out and they couldn't afford to do it. Things I've been reading is that the costs are very high, particularly in a highly competitive environment like that. Marketing costs. Your per gambler acquisition is quite high. I mean, it's reasonably high in Australia, but I think it'd be much higher in the US. So I think that was the part of the reason they get out. It wasn't working for them.
Yeah.
And now the share price has come back a long way.
About 16.28 at the peak.
Yeah,
76 cents now.
Yeah, I think you can probably take about $10 of that as euphoria. There's no reality to it as such. But now where it's trading at the moment, what is it, 75 cents I last looked at today. Our guys have got a valuation of about 95, so you look at it's trading about 20% below where they think the value is. They had their AGM today. The update was quite positive. They're meeting their targets. So based on that, look, our guys got a buy on it, but I'd be more speculative and say it's a speculative buy rather than just a buy. Right. I think there's still a great deal of risk in these businesses. I mean, if you're looking at what they do, is they just do Australia and Canada now. Your competition in Australia is, Bluebet, BetMakers, Tabcorp as well. And there's probably a few others there floating in. You've probably got an SP bookie still sitting on the end of the bar somewhere in certain pubs in country New South Wales. So I think competition's quite high still. So it is risky. But that's gambling, isn't it? You're at the risky end of the, and they work out the odds. So I think it's a speculative buy.
Because the story, Mark, at the time was America's going to be a gold mine. The problem is lots of other people had exactly the same idea.
And we have a long history of Australian companies going into the US, assuming they're going to make a fortune because it's so big and all the rest of it, who then come home with their tails between their legs without any money is very, very common.
Yep.
So this is a company, it's losing $36 million a year at the moment. So it's been losing money since it listed, and we've got 5 years of history. I agree with Francesco, you have to assume the US has been a disaster. Yep. Because otherwise they would be crying about how much money they sold it for, and they're not.
Yep.
So look, I don't see why you'd be interested. The shares outstanding, by the way, have gone from 120 million up to 305 million over the 4 years as well. So they've been issuing shares to help fund the losses. The return on equity is negative 70%. So they're wiping out a hell of a lot of cash every year, which means they've got to keep coming back to shareholders and got to keep the story going.
I think that wiping out cash, a lot of...
Is there yet, now they've changed the business model. US is the big hope, that's gone. Now it's Canada and Australia, and we're still not making money, but we're going to try and break even next year. It's like, yawn.
Okay. All right.